Oh, no. Hey everybody, this is our first Facebook Live and we're really pleased to have you join us. My name is Buck Robinson. I'm one of the co-founders of Outdoor Access, and I'm joined by James Stacia, who's our Vice President of Land Operations and Strategy. James, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, great. Thanks, Buck.
We're going to be talking about turkeys. I don't know about you guys, but now that the weather's starting to warm up, everybody's getting excited about spring turkey season. So James has over 30 years of gobbler experience. He's going to share with us. James, tell me a little bit about your background.
Right, so first of all, thanks for everybody joining us tonight. Just really excited to be here and a really great opportunity to share some information with our members about some properties that we have where they can go enjoy the outdoors and particularly spring gobbler season. And I look forward to helping folks get a feel this year. So back to your question, a little bit about me. I'm a lifelong outdoorsman, retired Marine infantry colonel. Something that's pretty interesting about me, and quite honestly something I'm pretty passionate about, what I do here at Outdoor Access is, I didn't have anything growing up. I didn't have places to go, opportunities to go spring gobbler hunting or any type of hunt for that matter. And so I had to scrap really hard to find places in a time when it was a whole lot easier than it is to find places now. So today I'm blessed and I'm fortunate to have property that I've worked hard to get on my own where I can go. But what I'm really zeroed in on and focused and just passionate about doing here at Outdoor Access is finding properties and finding opportunities for our members to take advantage of.
Yeah, and we're getting more and more of them thanks to James and his team every day. In fact, last count, we're over 320 properties between Virginia and North Carolina, and more coming literally every single day. So, Jim, tell us about what is it that you love most about turkey hunting?
Yeah, so I think it's a great combination of skill, tactics, strategy, just kind of pulling a bunch of things together. I think for the folks who've turkey hunted for a long time, it's all of us know it's probably 90% luck and about 10% skill. But that 10% you really got to focus in and zero in on to really capitalize on your potential to get a bird. And so I like kind of trying to figure out the calculus of a bird, working a bird day after day, trying to figure out how I can move in on him, set up on him, and ultimately may have a good experience and get lucky and actually take him home one day. So that intrigue trying to figure things out is really good for me.
So what's one major difference between the kind of properties that you need to look for spring turkey or any kind of turkey hunting versus a traditional deer hunting kind?
Yeah, that's a great question, Buck. I think, that's something that I've just been absolutely zeroed in on and focused here, since deer season closed, and we really focused on coming up with some properties that were going to be, high potential spring gobbler properties. So there's about four things, or I'll say three things, and hunters are like lawyers, so you put three of us in a room, you're going to get three different answers. So I'll say that out of the gate. But the reality is, for me, when I'm looking at to vet what I'll call and kind of certify as an Outdoor Access certified spring gobbler property, first thing I'm looking for is acreage. Right? So more acres is better. You're gonna have a hard time killing a spring bird, on a 25-acre postage stamp. Deer season, no problem. Deer moving around and all that stuff. But for spring gobbler hunting, when you have a bird who may or may not gobble, you got birds moving around, you need a lot of acreage. So for me, number one is for a property that I'm calling a spring gobbler property, we're going to have 100+ acres. In some cases, many more than that, maybe a few less than that, depending on what other attributes it has, but at least 100 acres. Second thing is I'm looking for some mature timber, all right? And I'll talk in a little bit about, my third thing is open space, but mature timber is good for me. I prefer, my sweet spot, the thing I love to hunt in is big hardwoods. They're hard to come by, right? Large pines work as well, but you got to remember that, birds are typically going to look to roost in larger trees, and so that's where they're going to start out in the morning. So if you don't have some large timber in on the property you're hunting, you're going to have a hard time, trying to close in on a bird when he's still in the roost, right? So large timbers, plus to be able to see down through the understory, you're not going to get that on a 10-year-old pine plantation. Right? Which brings me kind of my third point or attribute I look for is open space. So could be, I like the run and gun tactic, right? Or the walk and call, depending on what you want to call. I like to move around a whole lot when I hunt. Some people prefer to set up on the edge of a field where they know there's turkeys around, and they can be very successful doing that. Hens, tend to come out, and if they come off the nest in the morning, they frequently might be found out in the field feeding before they go back and sit on the nest. And where the ladies are, the gobblers are. So you can, that's just turkeys. That's just the way it works, right? So you could have some younger class timber and have a field next to it and still have a reasonably good chance. But I'm looking for some of that large property. But when I'm building a listing, and my team's building listings, and what I want to articulate to our membership is the fourth thing, and that is we actually look for turkey signs. So I actually have pictures or video of turkeys. You'll see that. I think, Buck, you promote some of the promotion material you sent out had some videos on it. So pictures, video, turkey signs. So it could be feathers, tracks, or fresh scratches, and you'll see that in our listings. When we were there, I'll put the date I was there and what I saw. So a combination of those kind of four things, I think, acreage, large timber, open space, and then the bona fides is we actually saw something or saw positive confirmation of turkeys in the area. So.
And I just want to point out to a lot of you who maybe aren't members yet or have looked at our Outdoor Access platform in the past and noticed that some of the properties tended to be a little bit smaller than what you might be normally looking for. I will actually give all the credit to James and his team, have really been working to increase the size of the average acreage. And lots of what you're going to be seeing during the spring turkey season reflects that, where we have these larger parcels or very large parcels that can still be diced up into 100-acre type plots that give that elbow room, but that are a lot different than what you might have otherwise associated with our platform in the past during deer season. So if you haven't been there in a while, please go to outdooraccess.com and check it out, because we have got hundreds of properties, many of which are meeting exactly the kind of description that James is talking about. Yeah. All right, so quick question for you. What's the number one mistake that a lot of new turkey hunters make when they go out?
Yeah, well, I will say I think a lot of folks just underestimate the importance of just absolutely being still. Chances are the turkey's going to see you. If you're successful and you have him coming to you, chances are he's going to be able to see you and pick up you before you pick up him. And that's just the reality of the situation. So, remaining absolutely motionless and having yourself set, one of the things I do, I'll kind of come back to the question is, the last place I hear a gobble, when a bird gets within 75 or 100 yards, I'm set and I'm locked in and my shotgun is pointed at exactly at the last direction where I heard him gobble. And I don't move, right? Because if you move, I've had turkeys spook on me, and some people might say I'm crazy, but I know it for a fact. Move your eyes, or you just twitch in the slightest way, they're out of there. They're gone. And they may not bolt, but they'll pick up something that's unnatural and normal, and they'll start going. So you just have to be really patient, and you have to be really still.
All right, so we're going to get some questions from you guys in a minute, but real quick, I got to ask. Tell us about your favorite, most memorable turkey hunt.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of those. Let me come back to that. I want to noodle on that one a little bit, because I have a lot of daggone stories. I want to make sure I got one that's just really, really compelling.
All right, and similarly, obviously, there's a lot of different types of turkeys, but when it comes to Virginia and North Carolina, the kind of places where we have most of our properties, we're talking about eastern turkeys.
Correct.
And what is it about eastern turkeys that kind of distinguishes them, other than kind of their feathers? What's their behavior going to be like?
Right. So I think what most people would say, National Wild Turkey Federation, a lot of the noteworthy organizations out there would say the eastern and the Osceola bird down in Florida are the two toughest birds to harvest of the 6 species / subspecies, whatever you want to call them. I think a lot of that has to do with the habitat. When you get out west and you're dealing with Merriams or you're dealing with Rio Grandes, in many cases, those birds are used to being out in wide open spaces. I've hunted both of those birds, by the way, and actually taken both Merriams and Rio Grandes, do it yourself. All of my hunting's been do it yourself. I don't do it in guided stuff, haven't yet. But the eastern birds, because they live in a diverse habitat and it's thick, in my mind, they're just a little bit more edgy. That's why I say that movement, any slightest bit of movement might signal danger to them. Gone, right?
Yep.
So I think that's probably one of the hardest things about them is they're just a little bit more cagey. And certainly that was my experience in dealing. I was able to walk within 75 yards or 80 yards of some Rio Grandes out in Texas, which just shocked the bejesus out of me. I didn't shoot him, but they let me get that close before they started easing off. Eastern birds, gone. Yeah.
Hey, we got a great question from Matt. Matt, thanks for chiming in. Thoughts on current cold weather and how it might impact the timing of peak gobbling? Do you think it's going to be any later this year?
It's interesting. I'm not much of a weather guru. What I will tell you, my experience has been, is if it's really a cold morning, then that can inhibit gobbling. That's just my experience. That may not mean you can't take a bird, but that might inhibit the bird's tendency to gobble. That's what that's what I've kind of observed.
Right.
But as far as actually the mating season, I don't, if that actually shifts. What I'll tell you here in Central Virginia, consistently, since I've been hunting here 35, 40 years, whatever it's been, that second and third week of April tends to be where it peaks. And what you're looking for is that point where that gobbler loses his hens that he's been courting every morning. When they start sitting on the nest, that's when the gobbling peaks, because he's pissed. He's like, "Where are you?"
Right.
She doesn't show, right? He's like, "Well, what's going on here?" Right. So that's kind of, to me, that is traditionally right in that second to third week in April. To me, by the first week in May, I killed my first bird, I think May 5th actually was the date, and it was late, and I hunted, I think, something like 12 mornings that season before I got that bird. But he was the only one gobbling anywhere within earshot that morning. It starts trailing off after the 1st of May, I think.
Well, Matt, we appreciate that question. If any of you have any other questions, just put them into the comments, and we'll get to them as fast as we possibly can. In the meantime, tell us about a couple of the properties that you brought on board, just as examples of the kind of turkey properties that we now have available for this spring gobbler season.
Yes, I'd love to do that. One thing I think is really important to maybe bring out is some of the diversity of our listing offerings, and because this is very new and different, for us here at Outdoor Access too. And then I'll use a couple of properties as examples. But so everybody's familiar with our by-day model. That's tried and true, and we are sticking with that, and we will continue to have great spring turkey properties that allow our members to enjoy turkey hunting, reserving it by the day, just like we always had. Things like the Prophet Farm just west of Richmond here, the Abundance Farm up near Nokesville in Northern Virginia, Hamlin Farm down in Greenville County in south central part of the state, are all great turkey properties that will continue to be offered by day. Yep. Second type of property, a new listing type that we've come up with this year, and this is directly a result of talking to our members and talking to our landowners too, is what we're calling a block listing. So a block listing is having a property that you can only reserve in a block of days. So it might be 5 days, it might be the youth season. You all have seen some of these out on our portal, or it may be as much as a week. We're testing that this year and this spring. So you guys need to vote, and you need to give us some feedback, and please do tell us if that's something that's appealing. We've heard from you that that's the type of thing that you wanted, being able to have the exclusivity component of your membership extend and give you a good value proposition over a longer period of time. So the daily rate times 7 for a block listing is going to be a much better value proposition than the daily rate times 7. So that's how we've set those up.
Right. So I want to just underscore that to a lot of folks. Yeah. Again, if you're familiar with Outdoor Access and you've always associated with us just with per day rentals, that is still something we feature on the vast majority of our properties. Right. But this spring season, we're going to be introducing new elements and new options that are a direct result of what our members have asked for, what some of our landowners have asked for, and frankly, a lot of people who have not become members have asked for because they don't want to necessarily have to hunt on a per-day basis. So, as James is pointing out, we will have properties where you can book an entire block up to a week's worth of time for your exclusive use. So that doesn't change. The exclusivity doesn't change. It's just a matter of giving you more time in order to be able to work that turkey and work with with the weather and some of the other factors that might influence their behavior.
Yeah. I mean, I think the key thing, and what I keep coming back to, is the value proposition, right? We all have work conflicts that come up. We have family things that prevent us from getting in the field on a Saturday or Sunday. We have weather that comes in. We got, you name it. you have maybe a call-shy bird, or you have just the bird isn't gobbling. That happens plenty of times, right?
Sure.
But having a whole week or more, or a week worth of time, gives you an opportunity to overcome some of those challenges. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is, before I give some examples of the properties, are we're doing some bid properties this year. So they're going to provide the longest opportunity for exclusivity. We have some properties that we're bidding for half season and half of the spring gobbler season, and even for the full spring gobbler season. So these properties, are large. They have great opportunities on them, and like we've heard from many of our members and our landowners who are looking for just kind of a different way to consume, the opportunity that's out there in the field. And so, again, we're very interested to see how our membership responds to these types of opportunities, and we are certainly open to feedback and options on how to make them more compelling. And that's, quite honestly, why we're here tonight, to try to hopefully get some of that feedback.
Yeah, and actually one of the things that Bruce, one of our members, just chimed in, and we appreciate, is how important it is to use that youth turkey season to get kids out in the field. Nothing is going to get their heart started and get them more addicted to hunting than getting out there, hearing that gobbler, calling them in, and I'm telling you, that is a great opportunity to introduce the future of our sport to the field this season. So we have some great options as far as that's concerned. Now, we had a question from one of our members, from Bill, that was asking about whether or not it would be possible to have two toms gobbling in a similar property. Like, how is that in terms of how the density of toms in a given area? What would you say about that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'll tell you, one of my land partners up in Fluvanna County's had this happen. I've had it happen several times too, but frequently when you're set up, and I'll use this as one of my favorite turkey stories. This is a good one. I'll come back to your question there. But sometimes gobblers hang together, even in the spring. But there's going to be a dominant gobbler, and there's going to be, gobblers are less dominant. Right. And, sometimes the less dominant gobblers get their butt kicked, quite honestly, by the dominant guy if he decides to, he doesn't like the moves they're playing. But they'll hang together. And you might start out in the morning and you might hear what you think is the same gobbler double gobbling or triple gobbling. And then as the morning progresses, and if you're fortunate enough to call in that gobbler who's double gobbling or triple gobbling, what you find out, it's not a single gobbler, it's multiple gobblers, and they're together and they compete with each other. So one gobbles and another one gobbles right behind them, just like that. And so I would tell you that happens very frequently. Which kind of brings me to my story. One of my most favorite. I think it was 2015. I was up in Fluvanna on my place, and I had that same situation. It was kind of a windy morning, and I thought I heard a turkey gobble. My ears are getting old. They're old, and they're getting tired. and so I went to move in toward the bird, and I went to cross this creek. And I slipped on a rock, dropped my shotgun in the water, made a huge racket, commotion. I said, well, this game's over, right? Because I thought I was within 100 yards of them or so. Well, a couple minutes later, that bird gobbled again. So he wasn't spooked. So up the hill I went, and I set up on him. And sure enough, it was a situation just like that. This started this multiple gobbling. And I set, and within 15 minutes, it was one of those just red letter days. They came right to me off the roost. It wasn't one gobbler, it was two gobblers. And first one came in, I just stroked him. That's the way that works. Right? So in spite of all that noise, you can screw up, and sometimes you get lucky, right? That's awesome. Good stuff.
Hey, we got a question from Hunter, and we appreciate your questions, guys. Thanks for that last one, Bill. Really appreciate it. Hunter, how aggressive should you be with calling once the gobbler's on the ground and moving towards your calls?
Wow. That's one of those kind of nuanced questions. I will tell you that I have become more aggressive recently than I used to be. I don't know. Early on, when I was doing spring gobbler hunting, they'd say the more gobbler gobbles, the less you should gobble. And I've had a lot of success, or less you should call. And I've had a lot of success with that. Where I have found aggressive calling to be a whole lot more effective is when there are multiple gobblers involved. So like that situation that I just... Because for whatever reason, I don't know, they're doing the chest beating thing or whatever, whatever the case may be. If they're if there are multiple gobbling, I'll start cackling and doing all kinds of stuff because I've had success in getting multiple birds to come. I had 5 gobblers, 5 long-beard gobblers coming to me on a buddy's property up in Fluvanna County one day where that exact thing happened, and they came all the way across the cutover, and they came and I was able to take one, but I was just very, very aggressive. So maybe that's a way to look at it. If there's multiple gobblers involved, or you think there are, then at least my experience, I've had some success with that.
Get that competition going.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we again, if you have any other questions, we're going to be wrapping up in just a few minutes, but in the meantime, I'm going to let James talk a little bit more about, again, we have all these larger properties, longer periods of time, new options available to our members. So this is something that we're really excited about because we really feel like it's taken what's already been our proven model and just giving it even more options for people, more land coming into the program, and more reasons for people to be able to get out in the field. So tell us about 2 or 3 that you really stand out to you as far as our current selections.
Right. So first, I definitely want to go first to is some newer properties, right? I think some of the membership might be familiar with some of our existing properties. So I want to talk about some newer properties, and the first ones I want to talk about are the by-day properties. Stingy Hunt, Nottoway County, 105 acres, lots of mature hardwood. It's a long, narrow block of property with rolling terrain on it, and just a really, really compelling opportunity close into Richmond.
Yep.
I mean, you can be there. I think I've timed it out at something like 54 minutes from 288 and 360 intersections. So if you're further west in Chesterfield County, you can be there in minutes. That's a great one. Northern Virginia, keep your eyes out on the lookout for Reynolds Landing, and that's RHYNALDS. It's a property in Fauquier County, 224 acres is what that one is. Huge. So this will be another good complement to the Abundance Farm and that part of our geography and that part of the state. There's a lot of ag land with that, so some of maybe our older members who might like to go and set up on the edge of the field and call, for a good bit of time, that's a great place to do that.
Yep.
Let's see, block listings. Buckingham County, just west of Richmond here in Buckingham County. Great property, 285 acres, right on the James River, all mature hardwoods, bluffs overlooking the river, big ridge where the turkeys tend to gobble, ag land down the bottom. This actually is the place that I did some of our hosted goose hunts back in February.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a great example of landowners who once they kind of dip their toe in the water with us, and we give them a good experience as members and as an outdoor access family, and all of a sudden they start opening up and saying, hey, well, why don't you try this? And that's exactly what happened with that Buckingham goose hunt that turned into Buckingham turkey hunt, and he's contemplating opening his place up for deer hunting this fall. So
Great.
It's a great thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hill Creek down in Hill Creek down in Charlotte County. Just a compelling opportunity, guys and gals. 310 acres, ag land, mature hardwoods, pine plantation, plenty of room. I easily can accommodate 2 groups of hunters same day, or 3 even, depending, right? So I think the last one I want to talk about maybe are a couple of our bids, bid properties. So one of those is Stanton River East. It's 135 acres in Halifax County, as the name suggests. It's right on the Stanton River. A little bit further from Richmond, maybe hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes, something like that. But we're actually putting that property in for the whole season. So that's an active bid right now. That one and Watkins Place 3, we're actually in the scouting period. If you haven't been on our website and checked out those listings, please do, because our scouting goes through this Sunday, which is free. If you want to go down there, all you got to do is shoot us an email, check out the listing. We'll coordinate a scouting trip for you. You can go down and check out the property. Then bidding starts Sunday night at 7 and goes for 2 days and ends on Tuesday night at 7. And everybody, this is the best thing, everybody who bids a reserve gets their name thrown in the hat for a week free at one of our premier turkey hunting properties.
Again, you've asked for it, we're giving it to you. This is a season-long opportunity. If you contact us about either of these properties, we can get you out there. We do ask you to coordinate your free scouting trip through us so that we keep everybody safe and everybody knows what's going on. But this is an opportunity to get out, see these properties, make a bid on them, have the opportunity to hunt them for the entire season. And as James just said, if you bid the reserve, you have the opportunity to win a free week of hunting. So from that perspective, more options for you than we've ever had before. James, I want to thank you for your time tonight and really appreciate you being part of our team. We really appreciate all that you've done to not only bring in these kind of properties, but to bring all that experience to the table. I want to thank all of you for chiming in, for your questions, for joining us on this first Facebook Live. Hopefully we're going to do these more often and get better at them as we keep going. But we have so much exciting stuff. We just wanted to sit down and talk about it tonight so that you all are in the loop about all of these great new options available to you. We thank you for taking your time out. James.
I have two
sure.
last things.
Go for it.
First of all, our members in North Carolina have not forgotten you. You stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, you're going to see similar opportunities coming online for bid and block down in North Carolina.
Okay.
And the last thing is, Northern Virginia, stay tuned. I got 2,000 acres in the Upper Valley coming online in the next 2 to 3 weeks as well, and it is absolutely stunning.
Oh, wait, this is last minute stuff that has just come in from our friend Britton. He says that the first Outdoor Access member to post a gobbler kill on the OA Facebook page from an OA property will get a free dead-end game call from him and his friends at Team Mason-Dixon Experiment. So thank you, Britton. That is very nice of you. We want to see that first one coming in too. We can't wait. We can't wait to get out in the field. James, thanks for your help tonight.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. And thank you very much for your membership, everybody. Have a nice evening.